moving on to Inter and Monza. This was a kind of a bogey opponent for Inter last year. Monza, B&G were all about trying to take points off of the teams that were challenging Milan for top four. So, or a thorn in the side, and it was probably a personal derby for Galliani. At Inter, there was some. Well, I guess there was some interesting occasions before that. Bobby Gaggs and D'Ambrosio now suiting up for Monza and getting gifts from getting gifts from Zanetti before the game and kind of a little ceremony and kind of a parting gift or a hey, thank you for being part of our squad. So we talked about we had one Capo Cannonieri contender getting in with the brace, the other one, my pick, Lautaro Martinez braces. Here in the 2-0 win, got one from Denzel Dumfries after some really good pressing from Inter, it has to be said. And then Marko Arnautovic, I still say Arnautovic shot that. And it was just weak, but he's going to get the assist. He's going to get the assist. I mean, it was your typical Inter. It was, okay, they're not going to have the ball more than the other team's going to, but they're going to try to create out of forcing you into the mistakes and countering, and they got off 22 shots, but only 3 on target. But let me start with Inter in this game in particular, and we'll see if this is something that becomes a trend. But Inzaghi really mixed up Inter in terms of moments when they pressed and then moments when they let Monza have the ball and sit back. And they mixed it up a little bit. I mean, to the point where I think they confused Monza. And I think what was impressive – so early in the season, one game in, and I know a lot of these guys have played together, to be able to do that right off the bat in your first game of the season, that says something.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, the trigger pressing that Inzaghi put installed in this game, it confused Monza. And Monza is a team, this is always going to be a scrappy game against Monza because Monza gave everybody fits last year. However, it was a fairly straightforward game for Inter because, like you said, the trigger pressing caused them chaos, and they made some unforced errors that they normally wouldn't make. Granted, Inter are a better club than Monza, but still, I think the way that Inzaghi had his team ready, it's a testament to him, obviously, right? And then, a lot of the players are core players, but they do have some new players in there, and they seem to fit in almost like a glove, right? Arnautovic looked like he belonged, and some of the other guys that they had that started. Sommer had a little bit of blip in the game, had little hands. Again, shaky first game, right? But he's a solid goalkeeper.
Yeah.
For those who don't know who Jan Sommer is, he's a fantastic keeper. He's great at penalties also, just in case you ever get to give up any penalties, right? And Derby did them or something. But, I think the way Inzaghi set his team up was great. And I think, having a guy like Nico Barella who really kind of generaled that midfield today. I think a lot of players in that midfield. There's no more Brozovic anymore. Çalhanoğlu's kind of like supplanted him as the Regista type player there, but Barella, man, just continues to do what he does. He by far had the most touches in the game, I think, of any team. And so, when you have all those pieces, familiarity, you have a way you want to play. You got your captain Martinez, getting in the right spot at the right time. It just makes it easy for everybody else to kind of get acclimated to what they want. And if your captain and your best players are leading what the team should be doing in terms of pressing and stuff like that, everyone's going to follow suit. It's how it works. And so, Inter came to play and they were ready. Love to see it.
I like the dynamic of the support striker. We said last week that they finally land on Arnautovic, and this could really work. All the guys that they whiffed on, and now they're going to get a guy that it might actually work out for them.
Yeah.
But I like because they bring their own unique qualities to Inter. Thuram, with his running, with his work ethic. I think Bonetti even alluded, he saw, when they got into more of lower blocks, when they were defending as a team, Thuram was willing to get back and help.
Yeah.
Plays with a lot of energy, runs. Arnautovic is kind of the bigger, stronger target type that, Lautaro can play off of. And, Arnautovic is that guy that you can find in the box, which is great for a guy like Di Marco, great for a guy like, Quadrado when he's in the game, and Dumfries when he's at the right wing back position. So, and I think that just brings flexibility for Inter. Inzaghi can look at the defense that he's up against, and he can just say, okay, this game it's going to be Arnautovic because we can exploit this. or this game it's going to be against Turan because we can exploit. It's going to be Turan because we can exploit this. So it's a very valuable asset to have.
Yeah, and obviously they love to play the counterattack system, and I think they could play two different styles of counterattack now because when you have Thuram in there with Lautaro, they both can be going and taking the runs and trying to get behind the defenses. Whereas if Arnautovic is in there instead of Thuram, he's more of the hold-up guy and then feeds it off to the runners, right? The runners are coming, whether it's Martinez, Bardella, whoever that comes off, and he can springboard the counterattack hit that way, and Thuram can be on the feeding end when he's in there. So yeah, it's a little bit of a change of pace I can do depending on what opponents they play. Thuram had some good opportunities in the game early on. Didn't get a goal, obviously, but he had some long runs too. He had some nice moves where he's going one-on-one. And I heard that the San Siro fans were going crazy every time he made those runs. Right? No, it's not Leao, but they haven't seen this kind of type of runs from their players in a long time. So once he gets acclimated into the Serie A, I think he's gonna be just fine getting his goals. He can find the back of that for sure. He has for in the Bundesliga for years. So I'm not worried about that. And I think all the new additions, or the key ones in particular, Arnautovic and Jan Sommer are going to be just key players for Inter going down the season. So,
yep, agreed. I still have questions about Inter's ability to handle being pressed because Monza didn't do it.
Yeah,
and we have seen Inter get into trouble against teams that press them.
Yeah.
So that's something that we have to keep an eye out for future games for Inter. If teams want to come out and put them under a little bit, how do they respond to that? And can they have an answer for it? So I think out of that overall performance against Monza, that's the biggest question I walk away with when I look at Inter. I mean, can you still deal with a team that presses you? Because in the past, that's an area that they've struggled with. And can you win games comfortably when you have superiority in possession? I think that's still a question. I think Inter still likes to be a counter team. Yeah. And I think that this is a pretty easy team to analyze because we've seen so much sample of this crowd of players. It's okay, the goalkeeper, and you made some comments about Sommer, and then the support striker. That's really all that's changed with this team.
And it's going to be I think Onana did so much with his footwork, right, that really alleviated the pressure. So when there was pressure, having a guy like an Onana or a Magnon, those guys who are good with their feet, can pass the ball, break up the press. Sommer is not as good as Onana in that respect. And so, yeah, they're going to be difficult to that. And like last year we said with the same thing we said with Napoli, we're like, we don't know how good Napoli are until they've beaten some teams that are legit teams, right? We won't know how good Inter are against the press, this iteration of the team, until they play some teams who will press them, right? When they play the Madonnina or a Napoli, or even a Lazio or Roma, when they play in those kind of games, we'll know how they handle defensively. But it's Monza. Monza was a tricky team, so it's a good result to have against them because this could have very easily been a game where they slipped up. And I predicted a 2-1 game. It was 2-0. It was close. It was scrappy, but Inter got it done, and Lautaro Martinez was the beneficiary of the 2 goals. So good for them.
I really couldn't make an early conclusion about Monza. It's really, that's a tough fixture.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, Inter away. I need to see more of them. I'll go through a few things that I saw. This sounds crazy for as much fun as we have with them, but Gagliardini played pretty well.
Yeah. Inter fans are worried he and D'Ambrosio were going to score against them.
Well, as they should be. But I thought he had a composed performance in the midfield. I think he helped his team keep the ball, didn't give much away cheaply. He made some vital tackles. He won the ball. He didn't do anything. Every time you saw Gagliardini on the pitch for Inter, he was a card waiting to happen. But he didn't. Yep. He didn't defend recklessly. He was clean. And maybe it's an environment change for him to come to a place like Monza where we'll have to see. Maybe it's just because playing against Inter, playing against his old team, there's some motivation to do things. But maybe there was an issue of, okay, surplus at Inter, so when he did get his opportunities, he's pressing and he's committing that clumsy foul, or he's getting sent off for this, because he's not playing to what he's comfortable doing, because he knows he's pressing because he knows that at some point, he's off, Brozovic is in, or Mkhitaryan's in, or somebody like that, or Varela. So I had pretty positive notes on him from this game.
Yeah.
My concern is who finishes for this team. Maric was a ghost. They brought on Mota, who was average last year. But you've got playmaking guys. You've got Pessina. You've got Caprati. They got to replace Carlos Augusto. Kyriakopoulos is a guy that's got the ability.
Yep.
Chiuria is good on the right. Kolpani.
Pyman. Petagna, he can score.
Yep. Pyman didn't get on the pitch here.
No.
He's a little too fat. He's got to train a little more. So
hanging out with us too much, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, we eat good food, so
that's right.
That's only natural that's going to happen to you.
I think it's going to be, Pessina is going to be the guy who's going to really have to be the guy who's the playmaker of this team. Him lining up against Gagliardini only helps Gagliardini, right? Where he has to worry about. Pessina is going to be the guy, the general. As if Nico Barella is the general for Inter, it's going to be Pessina for Monza. And so, yeah, Monza, they're going to have to find ways to get creative, and it's going to be a all hands on deck in terms of goals. We talked about Hellas is in a similar situation. Yeah, you got Caprati and some other guys, but who's going to step up and really take the rings of the goal scoring weight of this team? It's to be determined right now, but you can very well bet that Pessina's going to have his hands in all of this. So, however he can get those guys open and find the way to set these players up and put them in the best position possible is going to be the way that Monza is going to be successful. Yeah, we'll see.
Best case 11th, worst case 14th, in my opinion, for them. I mean,
yeah,
they're just going to be one of those teams,
Yeah, I don't see a top 10 again this year. Last year was, a great season, but they lost some key pieces. That's going to be hard to fill those voids, right?
And I think some teams around them got better. It's going to be hard for them to overcome that. So,